In this podcast episode, Peter Santenello shares his journey from humble beginnings in Austin, Texas, to exploring the diverse cultural and socioeconomic landscapes of America and abroad. The conversation spans his early aspirations, extensive travels, experiences filming in various international and domestic communities, and his unique insights on American life, immigration, and societal challenges. Among the many topics discussed are his adventure-filled travels, the complex cultural fabric of the United States, Native American experiences, drug epidemics, the dynamics of border control, and his reflections on content creation and personal life. Peter recounts his start in Austin, where he worked as a waiter and dreamed of traveling the world despite coming from a family that never traveled. His original goal was to save money, buy a Ducati in Italy, and ride it through the Alps. But curiosity and adventure led him off script. Instead of returning with a motorcycle, he embarked on a 2-year journey to explore 50 countries. This journey began in Switzerland, moved to the Republic of Georgia, and continued into lesser-known regions such as Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, where he experienced financial hardship but treasured the freedom it brought. Peter reflects on how not having a GoPro at the time allowed him to truly experience the world without the pressure to create content. Peter speaks candidly about living abroad, particularly in the United States and Ukraine, highlighting the complexities of identity and belonging. Despite establishing a life in the U.S., he feels culturally displaced, never fully American or British. He observes that immigrants living in countries sharing their native language often experience a temporary forgetting of their foreignness, which resurfaces through cultural references and local nuances. The alienation immigrants feel is subtle but real, revealing the multifaceted challenges of integration beyond language fluency. Peter's profound experiences living in Ukraine shaped much of his storytelling and content creation. Initially moving there for a startup venture, he soon immersed himself in rural Ukrainian life, living with bombed-out families and performing traditional labor like digging wells by hand. His videos captured the grit and resilience of the countryside, different from urban Ukrainian life, and earned widespread acclaim. The deep engagement with locals and communities formed a foundation for his authentic narrative style. His travels took him to Iran, where holding an Italian passport gave him remarkable freedom. He highlights the strict limitations on American travelers and the cultural complexities faced by visitors. Saudi Arabia was a newer destination he explored post-opening to tourism. Peter also shares how political realities and media restrictions in places like Iran and Ukraine influenced his content reach and audience. His work has often skirted geopolitical flashpoints, reinforcing his reputation as a boundary-pushing documentarian. Returning to the U.S., Peter emphasizes America's vastness and the incredible diversity within its borders. From the frozen and remote St. Lawrence Island in Alaska, where Siberian Yupik people live, to the urban enclaves of Miami's Latin American cultures, he draws attention to the countless distinct worlds coexisting under one country. He compares Native American nations to separate countries themselves, each with unique laws, traditions, and languages. This level of granularity surprises many and challenges simplistic perceptions of American uniformity. Peter has spent considerable time living among various Native American tribes, revealing their rich storytelling traditions, clan structures, and the blend of modern and traditional lifestyles. He notes the diversity within and amongst tribes, some deeply connected to spiritual beliefs, while others integrate Christianity. Economically, tribal wealth varies widely, from impoverished reservations to successful enterprises such as the Seminole tribe's ownership of the Hard Rock brand globally. Yet, despite economic success, Native Americans face cultural and social challenges, and stereotypes often miss this nuanced reality. The discussion shifts to the stark realities of America's drug crises, particularly fentanyl and methamphetamine, which ravage regions like Appalachia, the Mississippi Delta, and urban parts of Philadelphia. Peter contrasts these tragedies with the hopeful efforts of individuals trying to help, such as Buddy, who works with kids in troubled neighborhoods. He critiques the fragmented responses, including harm reduction programs, and the complications of a homeless industrial complex profiting from the crisis. The contrasts between impoverished regions and wealthy enclaves within America further illustrate societal inequality. Peter also touches on homelessness in major cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, highlighting the systemic difficulties in addressing chronic homelessness and addiction. He explains the challenges of enforcing laws fairly while respecting personal freedoms, and the unintended consequences of well-meaning programs that sometimes enable addiction cycles rather than solving underlying problems. His on-the-ground observations underscore the complex nature of these urban crises. Exploring lesser-known aspects of American socio-economic history, Peter discusses contemporary company towns, particularly mining communities like Baghdad and Morenci in Arizona. These towns are effectively controlled by single corporations providing employment, housing, and community infrastructure. While wages and conditions can be good, there is an inherent control over residents' lives, echoing past scrip systems where workers were paid in company currency, usable only in company stores. For retirees or those unwilling to comply, displacement is a harsh reality, reflecting a form of modern indentured servitude. Peter shares his experiences with the Chicano community in East LA, highlighting a vibrant culture expressed through language, lowriders, and traditions. He notes the identity tension many Chicanos feel caught between American and Mexican cultures, sometimes feeling they belong fully to neither. The car culture is a strong unifying element, as is the sense of shared community. Peter recounts multiple visits to the U.S.-Mexico border, providing a nuanced view of border enforcement, smuggling networks, and migrant experiences. While fence coverage is partial, technological and enforcement methods fill gaps, though with complications. He details the cartel's role in guiding non-Mexican migrants through Mexico to border breaches, asylum processes, and the strain on reception cities unprepared for surges. His positive experiences working with local sheriffs contrast with less transparent federal agencies, emphasizing the complexity and politicization of the border situation. Often exploring forgotten or overlooked places, Peter discusses life in formerly thriving company towns, poverty-stricken Appalachian communities, and urban neighborhoods seldom covered by mainstream media. His encounters with historically rich Civil War descendants in Appalachia and substance epidemic victims offer a broad perspective on American resilience and hardship. He stresses that America contains endless cultural bubbles, often unknown to outsiders and even fellow citizens. Peter delves into the lives of Amish communities, explaining their varied acceptance of technology, dialects, and social structure. He highlights the distinctiveness of groups like the conservative Schwarzentrubers and the more liberal Beachy Amish, noting customs like beard styles and walking rituals. He shares humorous anecdotes about his interactions with Amish locals and their skepticism. Similarly, his experiences with Hasidic Jewish communities, such as the Satmars and Lubavitch sects in Brooklyn, reveal their strict religious adherence, social codes, and occasional blending of old traditions with modern luxury. The conversation turns introspective as Peter discusses the creative process behind his video content, emphasizing the need to deeply focus in what Paul Graham terms maker mode, a state necessary for high-quality, authentic storytelling. He identifies the dangers of distractions from management or administrative tasks, which degrade creative output. Peter praises creators like Ryan Trahan, who successfully run lean operations to foster authenticity and audience connection, underscoring the importance of balancing logistics with immersive creation. Peter reflects on America's paradoxical nature, a land with abundant opportunity, yet rife with division and isolation. He sees Americans more isolated than politically divided, a phenomenon exacerbated by technology and social media. Observing trends toward short-termism in finance and culture, he advocates for long-term thinking and real-world engagement to counterbalance ephemeral digital distractions. While skeptical of easy solutions, he remains hopeful about people's resilience and the potential for cultural re-engagement beyond screens. Drawing on his English background, Peter contrasts British and American cultural and geographic divides. He describes the sharp north-south England divide, the unique accents and identities across regions like Newcastle, London, and Manchester, and the concentration of resources and attention in London. Using maps and historical context, He notes the subtle yet profound cultural shocks caused by moving across relatively short distances. This comparison illuminates parallels and differences in how sprawling nations manage diversity. Peter shares a fascinating story from a tiny island in Maryland known as the Smith Islands, where residents retain a dialect resembling Elizabethan English. Interacting with locals who maintain historic ways of life extends his theme that America's cultural fabric is richly textured. This accent showcases how isolated communities preserve linguistic and social traits, underscoring the deep historical roots interwoven with the modern country. Concluding on a personal note, Peter speaks about his preference for freedom and being a free agent over belonging to any single community long term. While he admires the depth of cultures he encounters, he feels both belonging everywhere and nowhere at once. He credits the support of his wife and close collaborators as vital to his work and emotional grounding. This dichotomy reflects the tension between rootedness and exploration that defines much of his life path.